everyone, welcome back to Katarina's Garage. My name is Katarina Lloyd, and today, we're at the Olds auction, and we're going to check out some of the vehicles here, and also, maybe some other stuff that's around here too, because to be honest, there is some cool stuff, and the vehicles here, most of them are generic, but there are a few really cool ones that I want to showcase for you guys, because honestly, you don't really get to see some of these vehicles that often. So, let's go check out what's actually back here. Because, and if you know anything about my channel, you'll know that I'm not going to showcase every single vehicle in here. You'll kind of just see a broad sort of view of a lot of these. Like even this OBS Chevy, which you can tell is quite rusty in the front. These are actually kind of a hot commodity, though. I will say that. This is one's a little later, being 90s, because it has the one-piece headlights there. You don't, you see these the most, to be honest. And this one actually is kind of rare, because it actually has headrests, which most of these didn't even have headrests. They were an option, which is definitely an interesting choice, but there you go. And it says it has airbags, so it's 96 or 97. Because I believe airbags were a 2-year only. May have been a little more than that, but I know for sure at least 96. Might even be as early as 92, because I know driver's side was mandated 92, 96 for passenger. So, yeah. And again, there's another one. This one's a GMC. Same thing. It's got the rust, just like the other one. That's just how they go. And they are really good to flip, but if they're this rusty, nobody really wants them except for farmers, if you can get them really, really cheap. You have an Explorer here, XLT, so I don't know if that's a 5-liter or not. Probably not. Continue on here. Here we have a really cool, if you're American, you might not know about these. So this happens to be a Mercury pickup. I might think, what is that? Well, there was a tax on American-made vehicles through the as early as the 40s, to be honest, and right up until 1970. And so as a result of that, Ford, Pontiac, and a couple others actually made Canadian-only versions of some vehicles. So this Mercury, they were built here in Canada, and basically it's just a rebadged Ford. There's nothing really special about these other than they're Canadian only. You don't see the Fords here really, because any of the Fords you see are typically imported, unless it's after 1970. Which is this one locked? Oh, it is too. And check it out, somebody painted the steering wheel purple, which is kind of cool. And purple dash as well. It's got some interesting accents. It's a manual, which that's not too surprising. And, just very cool. Even the doors are painted orange. The whole thing was painted a long time ago, sort of it may have been red, but it's pinkish now. So, who knows, this may have actually been like that. And it's very cool, to be honest. The flat deck back here, the bed's always rusted away, so it's not uncommon to see trucks, especially from this age, with a flatbed on the back. They park these really tight together, so that's a really cool one, to be honest. And you can even see, actually, so the core support up here is painted purple as well. This is, I'm gonna say maybe 65 or so, 66 potentially. I don't know the exact year. And going off the VIN, it's not going to tell you anything, because this is going to be like a 12-digit VIN or even less. They were not regulated until 73, I think it was. So, yeah, and even then, still couldn't find out too much on stuff. And both of these are diesel, so they'll go for a lot of money. These second-gen Rams with the Cummins in them, they just go stupid in price. So, it's always, those are a hot commodity. Now this, interesting. So this, you might think, is a Ford F-150. And you would be correct, except for this is actually a Lincoln Mark LT. Literally an F-150 that's up-trimmed, has a different grille in it, and has different badging on it. That's pretty much it. It was not sure why Lincoln did this, but this was Lincoln's second official pickup, because the one before this was called the Blackwood. And those are very rare to find. They were only made, I think, for like 2 years, so, and they're very much different from an F-150. It's still the same bones, but like the box has all these chrome streaks going down it, and it's really, really neat, but I haven't seen one of those in a long time. So if we continue on here, you know, ooh, it's really cold. It was much warmer in Sundry. If we go along, oh yeah, it's a Hyundai Excel. You know, these are, I think the predecessor, or the successor to the Hyundai Pony, I want to say. You know, and this one only has 106,000 kilometers on it, which, it's fairly clean. This might actually be a decent vehicle for somebody. Because the one thing is, like, these are, I don't know the reliability of these, to be honest. I know almost nothing about them. But it's just a little interesting to see, because it's something you don't see, especially without any rust on it. Like, look at this. You know? There's no rust back here. Just a little dirty, but other than that, you know, likely under a carport for a long time. That way, let's see, is it unlocked? It looks like it is. Oh no, it's locked. But it is an automatic, this one. So, it would be gutless, but that might actually be a decent vehicle. However, not really my style. Just kind of cool to see one around, though. It's like the underappreciated survivor thing. Moving along, here's another Mercury pickup. Similar vintage to the other one. It's 60s. And, like, I couldn't tell you exact year of this one, but this one happens to have a dump bed on the back of it, which is cool to see. You know? Very useful. So, let's see. Oh, interesting. So, this one's a 64. So, being a 64, this is before the twin I-beam suspension. Which was, you know, Ford famously used that for a very long time. And inside, I don't know why they left their shoes in here, but these happen to be King Ranch seats, which are a quite popular addition, actually, to these old trucks, because they're very comfortable seats. And the leather and, you know, all that stuff, right? This one is a manual as well, and pretty cool. Honestly. And the cab, surprisingly, doesn't really have much for rust, you know? A little bit on the door, but let's look at the other side. You know, and this side, again, so it's mainly the doors, a little bit on the back of the cab here, but not bad, honestly. You usually see them a lot worse than this, and because it doesn't have a box back here, it's not so bad for rust-wise that way, but ooh, that's close to touching that Range Rover. Very close. Let's carry on here. And don't worry, I'll go over to that in a bit, but I'm just going down row by row here. So, Taurus, not really. Oh, interesting. Here we have a Mazda B2600i 4x4. Now, I actually did sell one of these, albeit in much worse shape than this. Even to get it, you know, to get sparked properly, I had to use tinfoil as a fuse. Don't recommend you do that, but in a pinch, just to see if something is going to run, you could do it. But I wouldn't suggest going down the road like that. But this one, a little bit of rust on the box here. Surprisingly not seeing any back here, because they always rust right along here. Right, and these, kind of rare to find actually, because now these happen to have a Mitsubishi engine in them, which is a little odd considering it's a Mazda, but that's just the decision they made. And, oh, okay, this is the same spec as the one I sold, stick 4x4. This one's really clean. You know, these motors were not the most reliable when they put the injection on them, because it's, you know, 2.6 liter inline 4, I believe. And yeah, just honestly, you can actually find this engine, if I remember correctly, in like second gen Challengers, which you might think, what's the second gen Challenger? It's essentially a Mitsubishi Sapporo, I believe. You know, I think they may have had 2.8s, but I can't remember for sure. But anyways, that's a really cool find to be that clean. You know, and there's always one. There's always one OBS with cowl hood that's a little shoddily done. The fiberglass work is not great on that, but that's funny. I kind of like these headlights though, you know? Those look kind of nice actually. Overall, and again, it's rusty, like they all are. And now, you have to tell me if it's functional in there. which, oh, it might be. I couldn't see the camera thing, so, oh, and a Taz sticker, and oh, it's missing glass. That's always a disappointment, but the bed floor looks good. You can tell it was actually smashed because there's glass on the ground there, on the bed floor. So, honestly, these old BSs are pretty good. Really good trucks. They'll go forever. Now, it has these Euro lights, which are not to my taste, but to each their own. To be honest, it's something that used to be very, very popular, but has kind of not been as popular in recent years. And don't really care about that, so let's go over here. You know, interesting. So here we have, I mean, it's a service truck for sure because it's got a service box on it. F350 dually, probably. Yeah, it is dually. And yeah, like you got a little winch back here. Big ol', I'm not sure if that's a propane tank or what kind of tank that is, but it's back here. And yeah, not really my flavor of trucks either. Like they're actually really good trucks. You know, you could have 3 different engine choices, if I remember correctly. There was, depending on what year this is, either the Ford 306 inline 6, the 302, or the 351, potentially 460, but I don't know quite that late for 460. Because that's 90s, I believe. Might be 80s. Actually, I think that's 80s, come to think of it. So it might have a 460 in it. Here we have a, I think, fairly early Dodge first-gen Ram. You know, and again, this happens to be, this is a bale truck. So you see back here all the baling stuff. So this was a farm truck, most definitely. You know, and it's, hey, it is open, look at that. You know, you can see the blanket and stuff like that in here. It is a 4-speed manual, and it's a 4x4 too. That's always nice to see. You know, and it's interesting how these didn't really change, even from the 70s. In here, anyways, didn't really change too much. And that's the interesting part, is from like I think 73 right up to like 1993, they had like interchangeable panels and stuff. Granted, panel gap won't be correct, but they'll bolt onto each other, so it's kind of cool. Very big fan. Let's see, actually, so does open. Is it a V8? Probably. Yep, good ol' V8. It has to be a small block, so 318, 360, and is that? That's either a smog bump or AC. I think that's a smog bump. This thing's pretty cool. Got a oil leak from the valve covers, but that's to be expected. And this thing, wait, is it? Is this on propane? Might be. Interesting. Very interesting. Cool. For sure. Yeah, just something that these are starting to gain popularity finally. I love these trucks. I'm a big fan of them. And this is probably a 1-ton truck, to be honest. Just very beefy, robust, whatever you want to call it. You know, we continue on here. Say it now, when we saw that Lincoln Mark LT, is essentially one of these, right? Exactly the same. It just has Lincoln badging on it, a little more up trimmed. That's basically it. You know, so with most of them had 5.4s, which are not great engines, the Tritons, but you know, it just was a bad time for Ford with their trucks. But here we have something really cool. Now this one is 70s because it has these circular headlights here, which went away after 1979, I believe. 79 was last year. This one's obviously a 4x4. And C25, so, or K25, so this is the 3/4 ton, I believe. And yeah, it's a Target Master, which they were, the Target Master was an interesting thing because they were a cheaper engine that they built for the 350s back then. I believe it was Mastercraft or Goodwrench that actually built those engines. And they're okay. They're not as good as the Chevy built ones, but they're fine, to be honest. At least that's what I've heard. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but this thing is actually pretty clean overall. Like, it's got a little bit of rot. Not too bad though. This one has to be a camper special, so this probably is gonna have a big block in it, is my guess. Actually, let's read the thing. I can just read the thing. Here. Oh yeah, no, that's right, 350. Duh, I said that before. I'm an idiot. You know, it's got like an Edelbrock carb on it, YN aluminum intake, dual mufflers, stuff like that. This thing would actually probably sound pretty good too. You know, and if we take a look under the hood here, should... Oh. 1 second. There we go, got the hood open. I needed to use both hands because these hinges are a little stiff. They're not too bad though, to be honest. It's just getting that initial oof up. And yeah, good wrench right there. Right on the side of the valve cover there. So, on top of the valve cover, I should say. Now this one looks like it has an electronic ignition over there. That's the ignition box anyways. And this happens to be a dual battery truck too. So, it's quite clean on here actually overall. You know? The underside of the hood wasn't painted, which is interesting. The rest of the truck was, but the underside of the hood was not. Interesting call, but hey, maybe they ran out of paint. It's possible. There we go, let's continue on here. And see, because there's one vehicle somewhere around here. Well, there's a couple actually that I really want to showcase because they're really cool. And now this is another Mazda pickup. It's quite sun faded, it's beat. This could go for really cheap, and it's probably not a bad truck. And actually, this is the early 4 liter, so it doesn't have the dual timing chains. It's only got the one up front. So this is actually the better engine. The one with the dual chains is stupid because there's a timing chain up front, timing chain in the back of those motors. Those are the later ones. This is an early one. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, that little piece of information to know. Just in case if you're ever interested in those 4 liters. What if we carry on here? Yeah, because then I did see 2 of the vehicles that I would actually be interested in. And see, now this probably has the 4 liter, but this one's a little later, that might have the dual chains on it. I don't know the carryover year for that, but you can do your research and find out. And like those are the ones just to kind of avoid. They're actually decent trucks, but those timing chains will eventually go, and then it's just a pain in the ass because you have to pull the motor. You know? And here we have a Mercury Cougar, the final generation of it. It's really sad that this is what it became. So I don't even know what these are based off of, to be honest. Obviously, it's going to be some kind of a Mazda. But, you know, this is the last generation Mercury Cougar. They're front wheel drive, and they were no longer a luxury car. They were this little sporty car, but sadly, they just didn't sell very well, and eventually they just axed the Cougar entirely, but also they actually axed Mercury too, not long after this. So there was just no reason to keep Mercury around, unfortunately. And yeah, these are 90s. Very last generation, because before this, you know, they were based on the MN12, and then before that, the Fox body, and then before that, I believe it was Panther platform. So yeah, it's just very sad. But that's what it became, because they're actually, I think they're decent vehicles, but it's not really my sort of thing. And it's interesting to see a newer Chrysler 300 in here. Like, this is a 2016 and up, I believe, with those headlights. They're actually good looking vehicles, and this is on the Chrysler LX platform. They're good vehicles. They're just a little expensive to maintain because they're Mercedes tech underneath. So do bear that in mind if you're looking at any of these 300s, the Challenger, or the Charger, or the Magnum. So, oh god, it's just a freaking mud pit out here. And there we go. And oh, this is a single cab short box, actually. Something you don't really see that often, especially in this generation of GMC Sierra. Now, it happens to be a 4x4, which is great. You know, and these can be a little desirable, actually. Any single cab short box, instantly, for me, is cool. Doesn't matter what it is. And I happen to be a Stamps fan, so that's cool. Now, this is a problem here. So what they did was they painted over a rust here. So that's always something to watch out for, because that is quite popular to do. Because, I mean, when it's in your possession, you don't care, right? But once you move on from it, you know, that's when it gets to be a problem for the next person. Which, just not a big fan of that. And, oh my god, this damn... Oh, this is from because the snow, we had a ton of snow, and then it's just melting finally, and so that's why it's just nothing but mud. mud pit back here. You know, you got a Lincoln Navigator there. Opulence at its finest, you know, luxury. Those are just actually really, really luxurious vehicles, and for a while they were very, very popular. But with prices of gas, they're not as popular anymore. However, this, now, here is something you don't see. Monte Carlo SS, this is the last, like, one of the very last years of the Monte Carlo, being in 07. This happens to have the 5.3 V8. Now, these are front-wheel drive. Remember that. So, you have all that power powering the front wheel. So these things will do massive burnouts. And, you know, they have over 300 horsepower. And they are really good vehicles, actually, you know? To what I can remember, anyways. And it's one hell of a sleeper, because people will think, oh, this is a Monte Carlo. I can race that. Well, this is one that might smoke you. Depending on the vehicle, of course. But just your general sort of street light to street light sort of racing that way. But yeah, very cool. Cool to see that. I didn't even know it was in here. So, and now something, and you'll see it over there. I will show you guys that in a bit. But you know, Chevy Cruze, 2012, nothing really special there. They are actually becoming very popular. This happens to be the RS, which back then that was Rally Sport, which was just up trimmed on the Camaros. But now I'm not even sure what exactly what it means. It's probably just a little up trimmed. But yeah, so if we carry on here, getting so close to the end, and then I can get back in my car. Because it's freaking, my hands are getting really cold here. Really cold. But if we carry on here, you know, we'll see another 1-ton first gen Ram. This one's a little later. This is the late 80s. And you can see, this is probably the original license plate on it still, but you can't even tell what year it is because it's so hammered and stuff. But quite cool. It's got like a service bed on the back of it, and you know, with a winch and stuff. Very cool. It says 2012 on that plate over there, so that might be the last time this was actually registered for the road use. If we carry on here, you know, here we have something that you almost never ever see. And if you know Russian vehicles, you might recognize this. This happens to be a Lada Niva. Now, if you don't know what that is, so Lada is and actually they still make the Niva to this day, just not, it's much more modernized than what this is. And yeah, it's 100% bedliner, that's what I thought. But it's really cool. And these are actually based off the Fiat 127. I believe they came out in 74. And they were actually sold here in Canada, brand new. You know, and probably in the States as well. Wouldn't shock me. But, is it unlocked? Oh, it is too. So, we take a look in here. You know, you've got your, it's a manual. It's only a 4-speed manual. This will be your high-low range and your 4x4. Now, I don't know what's going on here. I saw this and I was a little concerned. And for some reason the radio's pulled out with the entire dash piece. And I don't know why, but they painted over the back glass, which is dumb. There's no headliner in the vehicle anymore. But it's really cool. And this thing, it's even got this really, like, sort of vintage steering wheel on it. Kind of cool, actually. It's not the original wheel, I'll tell you that. But these are a very robust vehicle, and reliability is hit and miss with them, to be honest, but very cool. And oh, does that top actually pop off? Oh, maybe not. It might just be the back windows pop out via those. Just haven't seen that style before, that's all. Very cool. And this happens to have like a Dodge Ram, probably 3rd gen Ram seat in it. Only one seat though, because who needs passengers? But quite cool. It's quite the unit. And even this whole situation here, I don't believe that's original. This is wild. Very wild to see this. And I've never seen one of these in person. You know, see, that's the original mirror there. But yeah, they're just very cool. This one's quite rough. but it's neat looking. And like, if this went really cheap, I'd be interested, but I don't know if it will, to be honest. I doubt it. You know, the homemade hitch back here is a nice touch. And yeah, very, very cool vehicle there. You know, it's just, again, something you never ever see. I think these had like a 1300cc, maybe 1600cc motor. Didn't produce a lot of power, but actually when you started these up, they sounded like a tractor. So quality wasn't exactly there on these, but they were quite robust. And you know, these are a really good off-roader, because you can tell, not very big and sits high off the ground, so it goes to trails like nobody's business. It's pretty cool. Let's carry on. And here we have something really after my heart. I love mini trucks. This happens to be a because the one thing is, it says Mazda Ford on these, which this was sort of the start of the partnership between Mazda and Ford. So I can't remember, is this a Mazda or is this one happen to be a Ford? It's a Mazda. Okay, this is a Mazda pickup, and now Ford made a version called the Ford Courier. Same thing, identical trucks. You know, this one even has quite beat up tailgate, but you know, it's there. Look at this bed floor. It's mint. Oh my god. This thing's in really good shape, actually. Wait, diesel? Is this a diesel? Because I don't think that's the original tailgate on it, but maybe it is. It's just quite beat up compared to the rest of the truck. You know, it doesn't quite match, and nor does, you know, this quarter panel. I don't know, well, the hood is popped. Let's see, can I find the thing? Oh, perfect, right where I reached. And I'd have to get the finger up, hang on. There we go, so let's take a look. This is quite interesting. No, I just think that was a replacement tailgate, because I don't believe this is a diesel. But it's quite cool. Interesting that it's got dual filters on it. That's a neat thing. That's blocked off. And these are really cool trucks. I would own one of these in a heartbeat. You know, I don't know much about them, but man, are they cool. And something you just don't really see that often, to be honest. You know, I'm just a big fan. And like, these were famous for the boxes rusting on. So the fact this one really doesn't have much for rust is amazing. Oh, it's locked. But this one happens to be a manual. It's got an extra radio in it, which is kind of interesting. Sorry, it's just cold, so my nose is running a little bit. But this thing is in really good shape. This is one that I'd be interested in, but this is probably going to go for a lot of money, to be honest. I would not be shocked. That Niva could either go stupid high or stupid low. I'm not sure, but this is the one I'm most interested in, to be honest. It's in very good shape. If we carry on, here we have a little, which one is this? Is this a Hijet? I think so. Daihatsu Hijet. So these are a K-Truck, which, if you don't know what that is, so K vehicles, which is spelled K-E-I, are Japanese only, and they all are limited to 660 cc's. I believe they're limited to, it's only like 800 kilos or something like that, and they're limited to a certain size. And it's for insurance purposes, right? Like, and they're all, you know, right-hand drive, because it's Japan, right? And take a look inside. It's tiny in here. Yeah, it is a Daihatsu Hijet. That's what I thought. You know, you can even see the Japanese, you know, on there. And a little 5-speed in it. This thing is neat. And, you know, like, this is something I would own in a heartbeat. I love mini trucks. They're not good for the highway, though. And, like, this even has these nice off-roady tires, which, you know, these are very popular for small trails and stuff. Now, seeing, okay, these, did this have 4 wipers on it and they just deleted 2 of them just to have 2? It may have, I don't know. If somebody wants to let me know down in the comments, I would definitely, now this is kind of funny to see the battery right up here, you know, out like that. What's cool is that because you can see it on the back here. So the tailgate will lay like that, but you can actually lay the the bedside's down too. If I can remember how to do that. Because they are hinged, and I don't know the way to do it. It's gotta be something up here somewhere. I'm not too sure. I don't want to screw with it too much. But it's very cool. I love these trucks. And they're only limited to, I think it's 67 horsepower. So you're not going anywhere fast, and their gearing, not great for highway use, you know. You're kind of pushing it even on 100 kilometers an hour. So very cool trucks though. And yes, and if you're wondering with that, because you might not know the laws, but here in Canada, anything 15 years or older can be imported legally and driven on the roads, as long as it passes an out-of-province inspection. So, you know, and last sort of row here, you know, there's a Honda CR-V. These are quite popular, actually, with the enthusiast crowd. They love these. They're fantastic little vehicles. And, you know, it's something you don't really... You do see these, and this one has the typical rust on the hood. And I'm going to assume recorders too. Yep, recorders are a little rusty as well. Is this one a 5-speed? Oh, it is too. This one obviously the manual, so this is the one that you would actually want. Because Honda manuals are some of the best. You know, they have shift rods instead of, you know, like shift cables, so they really don't wear out that much for like the shift bushings and stuff like that. They'll go forever. And these are quite popular. You know, people will lift these up, or they'll even slam them too. It's quite interesting. Very cool build, or very cool to build. Now here we have a old Caddy. I don't know what year this is, but let's see, is it unlocked? No. It's got an aftermarket radio from like the 80s in it, which is cool. You know, it's got a cup holder in it, and super opulent. I don't even know what year this thing is, to be honest. It's got the 4.9 though, that's what I thought. Ports fuel injection. These motors did not produce much power, but Cadillac wasn't really known for producing that much power for a long time, to be honest. And this is Cadillac's own design of motor too, because there was a while that they were putting like 350s and 305s and stuff like that in their Caddies, but that was like in the 80s. So yeah, but really, you know, like, there's not too much more to speak of. And people are checking out that Caddy over there, so I'm not really gonna focus on that either. You know, another OBS here. This one's actually a little cleaner, but you can tell somebody did cover up rust back there. So it's really hard to find one of these that are rust free, and if you do, they're big money. But yeah, so anyways, that'll wrap up what we're doing here. So I appreciate you all so much for watching. Hope you did enjoy. If you did, please like the video. Comment anything you want to see down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, my hands are cold, so I'm gonna go. Anyways, love you all. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!